Most men waste their breath saying things every woman has already heard 1,000 times. You're cute. Nice outfit. You're beautiful. Weak lines. Forgettable lines. Lines that disappear the moment another man walks into the room. But here's the truth. No one tells you. One sentence, just one spoken with calm, masculine presence, can make a woman feel seen, understood, and magnetically drawn to you in a way she can't explain and can't forget. Not because the sentence is fancy, not because you're trying hard, but because the right compliment, delivered by a man who knows his worth, hits deeper than appearance. It hits the nervous system. Attraction isn't created by looks, status, or charm. Attraction is created by impact, by what your words make her feel in that exact moment, by the shift in her energy the moment your presence enters her awareness. And here's the secret most men never learn. A powerful compliment isn't about praising her beauty. It's about revealing your ability to notice the things other men miss. That's what makes you unforgettable. That's what sets your energy apart. That's what creates gravity, the kind she feels long after the conversation ends. Today, you're about to learn 8 compliments that don't just flatter her. They change the way she experiences you. These are not cheesy lines, not thirsty lines, not performative lines. These are psychological triggers, rooted in emotional intelligence, masculine presence, and the Stoic principle of speaking only when your words carry weight. Because when a man speaks with intention, restraint, and authority, she doesn't just hear him, she remembers him. Let's begin. How to speak in a way that makes her feel truly seen. Most men talk too much and observe too little. They rush their words. They spill their thoughts. They try to impress, and in doing so, they reveal the truth. They aren't present. But a Stoic man, his power isn't in how loudly he speaks. It's in the way he notices things other men overlook. His silence has weight. His words have intention. His presence creates gravity. That's why the first category of compliments, the ones rooted in presence, hit differently. These aren't comments about her looks or her outfit. They're reflections of the way your awareness interacts with her energy. A woman doesn't fall for a man because he praises her beauty. She falls for the man who actually sees her, not as a collection of features, but as a presence. Let's break down the first 2 compliments that separate a grounded man from an average one. 1. That fragrance you're wearing is addictive. It lingers in the best way. Scent. One of the most underrated psychological triggers in human connection. Most men don't even notice a woman's fragrance unless it's overwhelming. They're too distracted by appearances, the dress, the hair, the smile, to pay attention to the invisible details that carry the most emotional impact. But when you notice her scent, not in a creepy way, not in a thirsty way, but in a calm, low-toned way, you communicate something far deeper. I notice the energy you leave behind, because scent is not just smell, it's memory, it's emotion, it's chemistry wrapped in invisibility. A woman's fragrance is tied directly to the limbic system, the emotional center of the brain. This is why one scent can take you back 10 years in a single second. It's why certain perfumes feel like déjà vu. So when you say that fragrance you're wearing is addictive, you're telling her, you didn't just make an impression, you created an imprint. And here's the part most men miss. She doesn't remember the compliment. She remembers how it felt to be noticed at that level. She remembers the shift in your tone, the calm in your presence, the way you said it without rushing, without needing, without performing. To her, it's not about smelling good. It's about being felt. It's about being remembered. It's about the quiet thrill of knowing her presence has an effect on a man who doesn't get affected easily. And that is attraction. Stoic lesson. A man who notices subtlety radiates emotional intelligence. A man who speaks with intention makes every word heavier. When you deliver this compliment, you aren't trying to win her. You're simply revealing the depth of your awareness, and that is what makes you unforgettable. 2. Your smile doesn't just look good, it changes the whole energy of a room. Most compliments target beauty, few target impact. This is where you separate yourself. Every man sees her smile, but almost no man sees what her smile does. A smile is energy, frequency, atmosphere. When you tell her your smile changes the whole room, you're not praising her appearance. You're acknowledging her influence. And women rarely hear this kind of recognition. Think about it. She can hear, "You're pretty" from any guy in any comment section. She can hear nice smile from strangers in passing. But when you say, "Your smile shifts the room," you are saying, "I notice the emotional effect you have on the world." And that's powerful because it acknowledges her presence, it validates her energy, it honors who she is. Not just what she looks like. Most men only see surface-level beauty. A stoic man sees the atmosphere she carries. And here's the psychological punch. When you compliment her impact, you elevate her beyond appearance, and women crave that. A woman doesn't fall for the man who praises her beauty. She falls for the man who praises her presence. She falls for the man who notices what she brings into a room, her warmth, her lightness, her contagious energy. Because deep down, every woman wants to feel like she affects you, not emotionally, not desperately, but energetically. And when you say her smile changes the atmosphere, she feels that it triggers a sense of worth, value, and uniqueness no shallow compliment can reach. Stoic lesson. A grounded man sees what others overlook. He speaks only when his words reveal something true, rare, and meaningful. This compliment does exactly that. Why these two compliments hit deeper than anything else? Because they communicate three things a high-value woman finds irresistible. 1. Presence. You are here. Not distracted. Not scanning for the next thing. You are observing her fully. 2. Sensitivity without weakness. You notice details, but not in a needy or dramatic way. You notice because you are aware. 3. Emotional intelligence. You understand the unseen aspects of attraction vibe, energy, atmosphere, memory. These are the traits of a man who is calm, composed, and intentional, a man who doesn't speak to be liked, but speaks to express truth. And women remember men like that, because compliments rooted in presence don't fade. They echo, Because the deepest attraction isn't built on how she looks, but on who she is. A woman can admire a man who compliments her beauty, but she only falls for the man who compliments her identity. Most guys operate on the surface. Nice hair. You're gorgeous. You look amazing. Those lines get attention, but they don't get attachment, because they focus on what every woman already knows. Men see what she rarely hears, what she secretly craves, is recognition of the part of her that isn't visible. Her character, her courage, her truth, her worldview, her soul. That's why the next compliments don't just spark chemistry, they create emotional presence, connection, and respect. Let's break them down. 3. I love how real you are. You don't try to impress anyone, you're just you. In a world full of filters, masks, and pretenders, authenticity is rebellion. Most people perform. Most people hide their insecurities behind carefully curated identities. Most people shift their personality depending on who's in the room. But when you meet a woman who is unapologetically herself, you've found something rare. This compliment hits deep because it speaks to the one thing people desperately want but rarely receive: permission to be themselves. When you say, "I love how real you are," you're not praising her looks, you're praising her courage. Because being authentic takes strength. Strength to not fit in, strength to not hide strength, to not mold herself into what's expected. You're telling her, "You don't have to pretend with me. I see who you are, and that's enough." And for a woman, especially one who's been judged, compared, or misunderstood, this is oxygen. It makes her relaxed. It makes her open. It makes her trust you. From a Stoic perspective, authenticity is a virtue. It's alignment between what you think, what you feel, and what you show. A Stoic man values truth more than approval, and he recognizes that same truth in her. This is why the compliment lands with force. You're acknowledging the part of her identity that is hardest to maintain. And that makes you unforgettable. 4. I love the way you see the world. It's unique, refreshing, and it makes me think. This is one of the most powerful compliments in the psychology of attraction because it elevates the conversation from emotional to intellectual. Beauty attracts the eyes, but worldview attracts the mind. And when you stimulate a woman's mind, her emotions follow naturally. Most men only compliment what they can see. But a man who notices how she interprets life, how she thinks, how she questions things, how she connects dots others miss, that man stands in a different category. Because by saying, "Your perspective makes me think," you're telling her several things at once. 1. You respect her intelligence, not the type of surface-level intelligence people brag about, but the deeper understanding that comes from paying attention to life. 2. You value her voice. You're not talking at her, you're listening to her. 3. She affects you intellectually. And for a woman, being mentally stimulating is far more important than being physically attractive. Here's the psychology. Most women don't feel heard. They feel talked over, talked around, or talked through. So the man who listens, really listens, immediately becomes different in her mind. Your recognition tells her, "I don't just like what you look like. I like how you think." And that's a compliment she will replay in her mind for days because it honors the part of her identity she values privately. Stoic masculinity is rooted in clarity of thought and depth of understanding. So when you appreciate her worldview, you're connecting with her on a level most men don't even know exists. This is how you build intellectual intimacy, the most powerful form of attraction after emotional presence. 5. I love your energy. It makes me want to be better. This is not a compliment about mood. It's a compliment about impact. Energy is influence. Energy is vibration. Energy is leadership without words. When you say, "Your energy inspires me to be my best," you are telling her something extremely rare. You affect me in a way that makes my life better. This is the type of compliment that powerful women crave, women who have outgrown shallow attention and now desire connection built on meaning and growth. Why does it hit so hard? Because you're not praising her beauty. You're praising her influence. And women who have strong, grounded, feminine energy deeply value their impact on the people around them. When a woman brings joy, focus, playfulness, softness, fire, or passion into a space, and you verbalize that effect, you're acknowledging her power in a way most men overlook. And when you say her energy makes you want to improve, you're saying, "I don't want you to shrink for me. I want to rise with you." This is peak Stoic masculinity, choosing growth over comfort, choosing discipline over stagnation, choosing evolution over ego. A woman who makes you want to elevate becomes unforgettable, and the man who tells her that he becomes magnetic. Why identity-based compliments create deeper attraction? Because they satisfy the 3 psychological needs every high-value woman carries beneath the surface. 1. To be recognized for her soul, not just her beauty or body. 2. To be valued for her impact, not just her appearance. 3. To be respected for her mind, not just desired physically. When you compliment her identity, you're telling her, "You are more than what the world sees, and I see the more." That's how emotional bonds begin. That's how chemistry deepens. That's how attraction becomes connection. And that's how a Stoic man stands apart from every other man in her life. Because real connection isn't built on beauty, it's built on virtue. A woman can impress you with her looks. She can intrigue you with her personality. But she wins your respect with her character. And this is where most men fall short. They chase the surface, but ignore the substance. They praise features, but overlook values. Yet deep down, the compliments that touch a woman's soul aren't the ones about her appearance. They're the ones that validate who she is beneath the surface. In this chapter, we reveal the compliments that reach into her integrity, her empathy, her purpose, the qualities that define her as a human being, not just as a woman. Let's break them down. 6. You're one of the most thoughtful people I've ever met, and it genuinely shows. Most men underestimate how powerful this compliment is, because, here's the truth, thoughtfulness is a superpower. It's emotional intelligence combined with integrity. It's awareness mixed with compassion. It's the ability to see other people's needs without being asked. And very few people have it. That's why this compliment lands so deeply, because you're acknowledging something rare. Something she may give to the world, without ever receiving recognition for it. When you tell her your thoughtfulness shows, you're saying, I see the details others overlook. I appreciate the small kindnesses you give freely. I admire the heart behind everything you do. This isn't flattery. This is validation. And for a woman with a giving nature, a woman who supports others, listen deeply, remembers small things, being seen for her effort means everything. Stoic philosophy teaches that virtue is the highest form of beauty, not charm, not appearance, not status. Virtue and kindness real. Kiet. Consistent kindness is one of the purest virtues a person can possess. By acknowledging her goodness, you're appealing to a part of her identity that is deeply rooted and rarely recognized. This compliment doesn't just make her smile, it makes her feel valued for the person she truly is. 7. I love how driven you are. Your sense of purpose is seriously inspiring. Let's talk about ambition, because this compliment hits a different part of her psyche. Most women, especially strong ones, have heard, "You're pretty, you're cute, you're beautiful," but very few have ever heard, "Your purpose inspires me." This signals something powerful. You're not attracted to her beauty, you're attracted to her mission. Women who are driven often intimidate the wrong men and inspire the right ones. And when you highlight her purpose, not her productivity, not her success, but her purpose, you're speaking directly to the fire inside her. When you say, "I respect the way you chase what matters to you," you're acknowledging her discipline, her consistency, her sacrifices, her vision, her inner strength, her refusal to settle. This kind of compliment does 3 powerful things in a woman's mind. 1. It sets you apart from men who fear her ambition. You're not threatened by her growth, you're energized by it. 2. It creates emotional alignment. 2 people with purpose naturally attract each other. 3. It shows masculine confidence. Weak men need women who stay small. Strong men admire women who rise. Stoic masculinity is built on intention, discipline, and purpose. So when you praise her drive, you're speaking the language of a higher-level relationship, one built on mutual elevation. This compliment tells her, "I don't want someone who sits still. I want someone who grows with me." And that hits her deeper than you realize. 8. You have a rare gift. You make people feel safe, valued, and understood. This is the compliment that reaches the deepest part of a woman's identity, because every woman has heard, "You're beautiful, you're cute, you're sexy," but almost no woman has heard, "Your presence makes people feel seen." This isn't about her appearance. This isn't about her achievements. This is about her emotional vibration, the invisible warmth she carries into the world. You're telling her, you're not just attractive, you're emotionally intelligent. You understand people's feelings. You make others feel comfortable being themselves. This speaks to the highest feminine quality, nurturing presence. A feminine woman is not defined by fragility, she is defined by grace. It's her ability to soften the room, not with weakness, but with warmth, empathy, and calm. When you recognize her emotional presence, you're validating a part of her identity that she rarely gets praised for, even though it's one of the most meaningful gifts she offers the world. It tells her, I see the depth beneath your surface. I feel the peace you bring. Your presence isn't just noticed, it's felt. In a world full of noise, people remember those who bring calm. And when you honor that quality in her, you're speaking to a part of her soul no one has ever spoken to. This is not just a compliment. This is recognition of her essence, and that's why it earns her respect. Softness, openness, and trust. Why character-based compliments build deep attraction? Because they validate what she values about herself. Not her beauty, not her style, not her image, but her identity. Women fall for the man who sees her kindness, her purpose, her impact, her strength, her emotional intelligence, her heart. These are the compliments that make her think about you long after the conversation ends. Because you didn't flatter her ego, you honored her character. You didn't praise her image, you saw her humanity. And that is something women never forget. These are the compliments that don't just touch her heart, they touch her mission. And any man who can speak to a woman's mission speaks to the deepest part of who she is. There are levels of attraction. Most men never make it past the first level, looks. Some reach the second, personality. But the rarest men, the men women never forget, reach the third, purpose. When you compliment a woman's purpose, you're not speaking to her ego, you're speaking to her identity, her ambition, her innerfire, her hidden battles, her dreams. She's never fully articulated out loud. Purpose-driven compliments hit deeper because they validate the part of her that is becoming, not just the part of her that is. Let's break down the two most powerful compliments in this category and why they open a part of her mind and heart that surface-level praise can never touch. 7. I admire how driven you are. Your sense of purpose is rare and powerful. This is more than a compliment, it's a reflection. It tells her, I see the fire behind your actions. Most men only see the results, her success, her effort, her productivity, her accomplishments. But very few see the engine, the discipline, the stubborn resilience, the private struggles, the internal grit it took for her to get where she is. When you acknowledge her drive, you're acknowledging her inner world, not just her outer achievements. And the truth is, women rarely hear this compliment. They hear, you're beautiful, you're cute, you're pretty, you're sexy, but they almost never hear, you're relentless, you're disciplined, you're rising. And that's why this compliment hits like a lightning bolt, because a driven woman knows the price she pays every day. Staying late to finish something right, waking up early when she's exhausted, carrying responsibility others don't see, balancing ambition with emotional weight, fighting self-doubt silently. When you say, I admire how driven you are, you're honoring everything she does when the world isn't watching. And here's the psychological shift. She instantly sees you as a man of similar discipline. Why? Because only a man committed to his own growth recognizes the fire in someone else. People see others through the lens of who they are. Weak men notice beauty. Strong men notice ambition. This compliment doesn't inflate her ego. It validates her effort, something she's had to build alone. And the Stoic angle, A. Stoic man respects mastery, effort, discipline, responsibility, purpose. He knows a mission-driven person is sacred. He knows the grind, the sacrifice, the inner battles. So when he praises her purpose, he's acknowledging a virtue, not vanity. That's why this compliment doesn't flirt. It elevates. And women never forget the man who elevates them. 8. You make people feel safe and valued. That's a rare strength most people don't have. This is, without question, one of the deepest compliments a woman can receive, not because it feeds her pride, but because it acknowledges her impact. You're not saying anything about appearance, not about charm, not about charisma. You're saying, your presence is healing. Your energy creates safety. People feel seen in your company. This goes far beyond attraction. This speaks to her character, the part she guards most fiercely. Because here's something most men don't understand. Women hold emotional space for the world, and almost no one holds space for them. They care. They nurture. They comfort. They listen. They encourage. They absorb pain that isn't theirs. They stabilize emotional storms. Others create. But who acknowledges that? Who notices the compassion beneath her strength, the intuition behind her choices, the emotional labor she performs effortlessly? Almost no one. When you say, you make people feel valued, you're telling her, I see the weight you lift that others overlook. I see the intention behind your kindness. I see the gentleness you give, even when you're tired. I see the strength behind your softness. Women crave this recognition because emotional intelligence is one of their deepest gifts, and it's tragically underestimated. Why this hits so hard psychologically? 1. You're acknowledging her true power, not her decoration. Beauty fades. Charm fluctuates. But emotional intelligence, that's timeless. 2. You're telling her she brings peace. Something she secretly fears goes unnoticed. Every strong woman wonders if her emotional presence is truly valued. 3. You're praising what she gives, not what she shows. Most compliments are about the visible. This one is about the soul. 4. You're validating her essence, the part of her identity she doesn't advertise. She may post her smile. She may show her accomplishments. But she rarely reveals how much she cares. You saw it, and that matters. From a Stoic perspective, this is the highest compliment you can give. Stoics valued virtue, empathy, presence, calmness, emotional responsibility. So when you say you make others feel safe, you're acknowledging a Stoic virtue, not beauty, not seduction, but character. This type of compliment separates you instantly from men who only see the surface. Because a woman may enjoy being desired, but she trusts the man who sees her emotional power. And trust is the deepest root of attraction. Why these purpose-driven compliments hit harder than anything else, because they tell her, you don't just want her, you understand her. You recognize the parts of her she's had to build alone. You see the woman behind the mask. You see the substance behind the softness. You see the reason behind the results. Women fall for men who understand their spirit, not just their style. These compliments don't seduce her body. They awaken her soul. And that is attraction at the highest level. Because even the perfect compliment dies in the wrong mouth, but in the presence of a grounded man, it becomes unforgettable. Most men think compliments are about the words. They're not. In reality, The words are only 20%. The other 80% is energy, your tone, your presence, your pacing, your intention. A compliment delivered with insecurity becomes noise. A compliment delivered with masculine calm becomes memory. A Stoic man understands this better than anyone. He never speaks to win approval. He speaks because the truth within him is steady, controlled, and unbothered. His words don't chase. They land. Everything begins with your tone. A calm tone is not about speaking slowly. It's about speaking without neediness. When your voice carries the steadiness of a man who is sure of himself, sure of what he sees, and sure of what he feels, she listens differently. She relaxes. She respects you instantly, often without knowing why. Your voice communicates your frame long before your compliment reaches her ears. A nervous tone says, "Please like me." A calm tone says, "I don't need anything from you." And that's why my words matter. And then there is neediness, or rather, the absence of it. Most men ruin a powerful compliment by seeking a reaction. They stare at her face afterward, waiting anxiously for her approval. They over-explain what they meant. They try to prove they're sincere. They cling to her response. A Stoic man doesn't do this. He gives the compliment precise, intentional, and then he moves on, effortlessly, as if nothing happened. Not because he doesn't care, but because he isn't dependent on the outcome. He understands that genuine confidence is revealed in what you do after you speak. The man who doesn't wait for her reaction holds all the power. Eye contact is another silent weapon. Most men look away too fast or stare too long. A Stoic man does neither. He gives the compliment, holds eye contact long enough for her to feel his certainty, and then he looks away first, calm, unhurried, in control. This simple gesture communicates three things: presence, confidence, and non-attachment. It shows her you are unafraid to be seen, unafraid to stand in stillness, but also unafraid to release the moment rather than cling to it. That balance is masculine magnetism in its purest form. Your pacing matters too. A compliment should never sound rushed or squeezed between breaths. Speak with intention. Let your words breathe. When you deliver a compliment like a man who chooses every syllable with care, she feels the weight behind it. You're not blurting. You're not performing. You're placing every word precisely where it belongs. This gives your presence gravity, something most men will never understand. Lower your voice slightly, not dramatically, not theatrically, but naturally, and everything changes. A subtle drop in tone signals calmness, certainty, groundedness. It slows the emotional energy of the interaction, pulling her into a more intimate, quieter frequency. When your voice steadies, her nervous system softens. This is primal. Women respond to grounded vocal energy on a subconscious level, and the man who speaks calmly from the chest instead of the throat makes her feel safe without even trying. Timing is the next key. Never give compliments when she's fishing for them, when she's posting thirst traps, when she's trying hard to look good, when she's expecting attention. Compliments given at predictable moments feel cheap. Compliments given at authentic moments feel sacred. The Stoic rule is simple: reward character, effort, essence, not performance. Compliment her when she isn't trying to impress anyone. That is when it means the most. Scarcity is your advantage. Compliment rarely, not constantly. Compliments lose their value when they're common. They become addictive when they're rare. A man who compliments sparingly is a man whose words feel precious. When your praise is selective, she leans in for it. She remembers it. She values it. You never want to be the man who gives compliments to get something. You want to be the man whose compliments feel like a gift, unexpected, intentional, unforgettable. And here is the heart of the Stoic approach: compliment her essence, not her ego. Anyone can say she's pretty, but anyone can admire her outfit, her body, her style. But when you compliment her discipline, her presence, her kindness, her drive, her emotional intelligence, you're touching the part of her she doesn't advertise. You're speaking to her identity, not her appearance. Women fall for men who recognize their soul, not their surface. Complimenting essence is a sign of emotional awareness, and emotional awareness is irresistibly masculine. Finally, master silence. The silence after a compliment is one of the most powerful moments in any interaction. Most men panic and rush to fill it. Stoic men don't. They let the silence sit. They let her feel. They let the moment work. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is depth. It allows your words to settle inside her rather than bounce off her defenses. When you are comfortable in silence, she feels your self-control. She feels your emotional strength. This is the moment when she realizes, this man means what he says. Deliver your compliments like statements, not negotiations. Speak them with clarity, certainty, and presence. Don't apologize. Don't soften them. Don't present them like questions. When a man delivers his words with conviction, he doesn't need validation. His tone is the validation. His presence is the punctuation. A Stoic man doesn't compliment to impress. He compliments to acknowledge. He compliments to reflect what he sees. He compliments because he's grounded enough to speak truth without expectation. And that, more than any line or phrase, is what makes a woman fall not for the compliment, but for the man behind it. At the end of the day, every compliment you use, every word you speak, every moment you share, it all comes down to one thing: the man you choose to be. Because compliments aren't tricks. They're reflections. Reflections of your awareness, your presence, your emotional depth, and your self-control. A weak man uses compliments to chase validation. A Stoic man uses compliments to reveal truth calmly, intentionally, without expectation. And if you've been listening closely, you already understand the real message behind this entire video. It's not about making her fall for your words. It's about becoming the kind of man she can't forget, even in silence. The kind of man whose presence shifts the energy in the room. The kind of man whose voice carries warmth instead of neediness. The kind of man whose attention feels earned, not given away for free. The kind of man whose compliments don't flatter, they awaken. Because when you speak from grounding, when you speak from purpose, when you speak from clarity, Your words stop being lines. They become experiences, and women never forget the experiences that change the way they feel about themselves. So if you're ready to go deeper into this journey, not just learning better words, but becoming a better man, then this is the moment you decide. Because growth doesn't happen by accident. It happens by intention. If this video opened your mind, if it sharpened your awareness, if it made you think differently, then imagine what happens when you apply this mindset every day. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment below. I speak with presence, not neediness. Say it boldly. Lock it in. Make it your identity. And if you want to master connection on a deeper level, attraction, emotional control, communication, masculine presence, then stay close. Every video we release is another step toward becoming the man most men pretend to be and the man most women hope to meet. This is Stoic Truth 101, where we don't teach lines. We teach presence. We teach power. We teach the kind of masculinity that speaks louder in silence than other men speak in paragraphs. I'll see you in the next one. Walk with purpose. Speak with intention. And remember, a man who understands the power of his words never has to raise his voice.